Hello, and welcome to Move or Improve with Debbie. We're going to do our Let's Move, Live in Arizona session this time. And, each month I do a different program on a different part of the country where it's fun to think about retiring and moving to. And today we're going to talk about living in Arizona. And I have the pleasure of having Scott Schultz on the show with me. And Scott is going to talk to us about his decision to move from New Jersey, where the weather is not always pleasant, to Arizona. And he's going to talk about what made him decide on Arizona and also what it's like to live there. And the nice part is that Scott is a realtor in Surprise, Arizona. Yes, there is a place called Surprise. And he can help you find a place to live should you decide to move out there. So welcome, Scott. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
I do want to talk about, I do have a little intro of my own. I remember moving a couple from here in Northern Virginia, and they moved down to the Mesa area. And she said, Debbie, I don't have to worry about hurricanes or snow anymore. I just traded sand, sun, spiders, snakes, and snow for the hurricanes. So I said, I think that's a good thing. But
Yes.
She liked the fact that she could live in the heat. Her husband liked to play golf, and they could go up to Flagstaff where there's snow if they wanted to, but they didn't have to shovel it at all where they were living. So I never forgot the sand, sun, spiders, snakes, and snow instead of hurricanes. So it always made it an interesting point for me. But talk just a little bit about what you went through, you and your wife deciding to move from New Jersey to Arizona. How did you choose where you wanted? Did you look at other places before you chose Arizona? That kind of thing.
We did. Yeah, we did. So what happened was this is back in 2005. So we've been here about 13 years next month. We moved here July of 06. And what happened was one December day, my sister had called up and, it was cold and blustery. And it was one of those calls of, hey, let's move to a warmer climate. What do you think about that? So, I hate the cold weather. So I was all aboard for that one. And so long story short, I told my wife, she was into it, and my kids were small at the time. And so we said, well, this is back in 2005 when the real estate market was just starting to, really climb and get competitive and prices were going high. So we talked about some different states. So the first state was, well, let's see, where's nice and warm? Southern California. But Southern California was also, way out of our price range, $750,000 to live in a 800 square foot place. So we said, okay, no Southern California.
If you're
Florida,
lucky.
If you're lucky, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So we kicked Florida around and then decided against Florida. We're just keeping the humidity, but trading some warmer days, but some uncomfortably humid, hot summer days. You know how Florida is. So we said, so I said to her, I said, well, I've never been to Arizona, and I know she hadn't either. So I said, we should check that out. Well, her call was just kind of, I guess, just kind of a call, just to throw that out there. She's still in Long Island, but it was the seed was planted with me and my wife. So we said, well, you know what, we're gonna look into this. We're gonna see if we can make this work. So we came out and we scouted some locations. We started on the east side of the valley, and through some people that we knew, kind of gave us recommendations on go here, go there, talk to this person and that person, and we wound up in Surprise and loved it. And so we sold our house in New Jersey, and again, it was the height of the market. So we made some nice money on that one, which allowed us to put down a good chunk on what we bought here, because we moved out here with nothing, no jobs lined up. Our kids were small. I had a 6-year-old and a under 1-year-old. So it was pretty stressful of what the future was going to hold. But we said, hey, You only live once, so let's try it. And we did. And looking back 13 years later, it was the best move we've ever made. We love it out here, and we are in a better position, you name it, financially, lifestyle wise, everything, for moving out here rather than staying where we were with the way cost of living was and all that kind of stuff. So it was a great decision, and it worked out beautifully.
So you're kind of like the pioneers of the old West, only you didn't have a covered wagon. They were
Exactly.
there to look for stuff. Well, so what do people like living about in Arizona? Because I know you work with a lot of people who are retirees and thinking about making the move. And what do you find, other than what you liked, what do you find that other people like about it?
Well, they also like the weather. So again, the summers are, can be hot. But for those who've never really experienced it, yeah, 110 degrees, it's hot. There's rarely, any humidity, to speak of. So it is a little different, but it's still hot. But the rest of the year is gorgeous. And so when people move out here, they move out here for a variety of different reasons. Weather being one, cost of living certainly being another. There's a lot of outdoor things to do. So the state is very diverse when it comes to things to do. There's, you have the valley, so there's tons of golf, lots of golf courses. And then you can go up north, like you had said earlier. You can go to Flagstaff, and there's snow. In the wintertime, there's lots of snow in Flagstaff.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I saw.
Yeah. Just this past winter, they got like almost 40 inches in 24 hours. My son goes to Northern Arizona University, so he experienced what that was like. And but they get lots of snow, but they're also at 7,000 feet above sea level. So
Yeah.
where the valley's about 1,300.
Yeah, they're better.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember I spent one Christmas in Sedona, and I was so surprised because it started to snow, and I said, "Wait a minute, it's not supposed to be doing that." So
yeah.
My son and daughter-in-law were going to meet me there, and my daughter-in-law does not like snow, and I said, "Well, it'll pass." And so the next day we left on, I think it was day after Christmas Day, we drove back down, and as soon as with 30 minutes we were back in the sun and the warm weather. I said, "Okay, this is crazy. I can't even believe this for sure." But so what about like taxes? What kind of taxes are there? Sales tax, property tax, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so sales tax, you're looking at around 8 to 8.5%. That's all. It's all state tax has their set tax, but then it can vary by city. But they're all pretty close. So depending on where you live, you're looking at somewhere between 8 and 8.5% on sales taxes. Property taxes were probably one of the more cheaper property taxes in the country. I would say the average, for the average home in the valley, in the Phoenix Valley, you're probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500 to $2,000 a year in property taxes. So it's really not that bad. Now, if you're coming from a high tax state, that's a benefit, and that can turn into a considerable cost savings when you decide that you may want to buy a house in Arizona, because the taxes are relatively low still.
Yeah, for sure. That's incredible. It's hard to believe, really, considering what I pay for property taxes here.
Exactly.
And I was talking on an earlier show about people leaving New York State in droves because of the high taxes there, and
Right.
It's just crazy. They have to get out. So it sounds like Arizona might be a good choice for them as well. Well, what about medical facilities? What's big hospitals? As people age, they need to have good medical around. What kind of things are there, and what cities are they located in?
So there's lots of medical facilities. So let's just take the area where I live in Surprise. There are some of the bigger retirement communities around here. So the Sun City West, even parts of Goodyear are retirement, and there's quite a bit of a high population of doctors, urgent cares, hospitals, in those areas because they know that that's where the aging community is, and so there's definitely a lot to choose from depending on what your insurance plan is, obviously. But there's certainly no shortage of medical facilities here. Again.
Are most doctors willing to take Medicare, accept Medicare?
Oh yeah.
New patients, as far as.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yep. Medicare is big.
Yeah, can you talk just for a minute, though? You talk about the valley, the West Valley, the East Valley, whatever. Can you talk about how people could define, I guess, areas in Arizona where they might want to look? In other words, up in Flagstaff, the mountains, and then you got the valley, and talk about the East Valley, which is that where,
Scottsdale, Mesa, Chandler. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So so that people can be well versed before they come to you to say where they want to live, and you don't have to spend so much time. Talk a little bit about the various areas of Arizona and what their nickname is.
Okay, well, the biggest one is the Valley, which is the Phoenix metro area, and it's essentially divided into halves. So everybody says the West Side, the East Side. So the East Side comprises of, like I said, Scottsdale, Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa, Queen Creek areas. A lot of that area is established, already built up. There's lots of retail and stores and everything is established over there, restaurants. Then the West Side is more kind of the newer developing area. So that's, again, where I live in Surprise, the Sun Cities, Buckeye, Glendale, Peoria, Goodyear. Those are, that's considered the West Valley. And again, that's more kind of the, like I said, the newer up and coming. There's still room for growth, room for expansion. So when they say the West Valley, the West Side, the East Side, that's basically the dividing line. And then you have Phoenix, who comprises pretty much, all of the central area. But then there's North Phoenix, there's South Phoenix. There's not so much of East and West Phoenix, but they will divide Phoenix North and South. So, and then there's the the roads that run here, because everything's a grid out here, so it's easy to get around. But the roads are, for instance, the I-17 runs north and south, and that usually will be kind of the dividing line. Everything west of the I-17 may be considered West Valley, and then vice versa. So, and then the 101, it runs up on the northern side. So when they say North Phoenix, they're talking about closer up to there versus down by the South Mountain and the areas of Chandler, Gilbert, which is further south. So it's kind of broken into almost like a quadrant section.
Okay, that sounds easy to figure out then.
It is.
So are there's, you were talking about, Sun City and all like those, but what types of housing is there? I mean, are there condos, single family homes outside of a gated community, or is most everything gated, or?
In Sun City, in the retirement communities, it's not necessarily all gated. No, there are some parts that are gated, and there are some parts in the non-retirement communities that are gated. So there is definitely a variety of types of housing that you can choose from. So, like you said, there's single-family homes, there's condos, there's townhomes, there's even trailer and manufactured homes that are out in the more rural sections of the area. But there's the most of it comprises of subdivisions and HOAs and things like that, where most of it is single family homes. But you can get gated,